The metal floor felt cold, even through Oliver's shoes as he crawled through the tight maintenance shaft. His backpack clinked softly with every movement, filled with the tools his father had given him last month. 8 years old was old enough to learn proper repair work, Dad had said. Old enough to understand that fixing things mattered. Oliver squeezed through a narrow gap and dropped into a wider corridor. This section of Harmony Station was off limits to most people, but nobody ever stopped a maintenance chief's kid from exploring. The lights here flickered yellow instead of the bright white of the upper levels. Pipes dripped somewhere in the distance. Perfect salvage territory that he pulled out his scanning device and swept it across the walls. Lots of good stuff down here. Broken circuit boards, damaged panels, bent tools. Dad always said one person's trash was another person's lesson. Oliver had learned to solder by fixing a cracked display screen he found in a pile of garbage. Then he heard it, a sound that made him freeze, sobbing. Wet, gasping, trying to be quiet, sobbing. Oliver knew that sound. He had made it himself plenty of times after Mom died. Usually into his pillow, where Dad would not hear it, he followed the noise around a corner, past a stack of old storage containers, until he saw the source, a dragon child that sat hunched against the wall. Oliver had seen the DRA Keth delegation from a distance before. Huge adults with scales that shimmered like metal, wings folded tight against their backs, claws that could tear through steel. The grown-ups on the station whispered about them. Dangerous, proud, quick to anger. This one was small, though. Maybe Oliver's age, maybe younger. The scales were deep blue-green, dulled by dust and tears. The wings trembled as the dragon child clutched something against its chest, shoulders shaking with each sob. Oliver took a step forward. The dragon's head snapped up, eyes wide with fear and shame. Tears streaked down the scaled face. "Stay back," the dragon hissed. The voice cracked halfway through, ruining the threat. Oliver stopped. He had learned about DRA Keth in his station studies. They valued strength above everything. Crying was weakness. Being seen crying was disgrace. "Okay," Oliver said quietly. He sat down on the floor, right where he was, about 3 meters away. Far enough to not be threatening. Close enough to talk. The dragon stared at him, confused. "I said stay back." "I did. I'm back here." Oliver opened his backpack and pulled out a damaged circuit board he had found last week. He set out his tools in neat rows, just like Dad taught him. Small screwdriver, wire stripper, solder iron. "What are you doing?" The dragon's voice still shook. "Working on my project." Oliver examined the circuit board, looking for the broken connection. "My dad says keeping your hands busy helps when you feel bad." Silence. Oliver could feel the dragon watching him, but he did not look up. He just worked, checking each connection point carefully. "Humans are weak," the dragon finally said. "Everyone knows this." Maybe. Oliver found the break in the circuit. There. He marked it with a pen. "Dad says there are different kind of strong, though. There's only one kind. Power. Kumba. Victory. My dad can lift a power core by himself. That's pretty strong." Oliver threaded new wire through the tiny holes. "But he also says his strongest moment was holding my hand at Mom's funeral." The dragon made a choking sound. Oliver glanced up. The child's claws were digging into whatever it held, leaving scratch marks. "What broke?" Oliver asked gently. The dragon's eyes widened. "How did you know something broke?" "Because you're sitting in a maintenance corridor, crying while holding something tight enough to hurt yourself." Oliver set down his tools. "And because I did the same thing when I broke Mom's picture frame 2 months after she died." Slowly, the dragon uncurled its claws. In its hands lay pieces of something crystalline, shattered into maybe 20 fragments. Even broken, the pieces caught the dim light and reflected it in rainbow patterns. "My mother's memory keeper," the dragon whispered. It held her voice, her image. "Now it holds nothing. I am sorry." Oliver meant it. He knew that kind of loss. It cannot be fixed. DRA Keth do not fix broken things. We discard them and grow stronger. Oliver thought about that. It sounded lonely. "My father said broken things deserve care," Oliver said. He had not planned to say it. The words just came out, the same ones Dad had told him while they sat on the floor surrounded by pieces of Mom's frame. Not anger, not throwing away. Care. The dragon stared at him like he had spoken a completely foreign language. "That makes no sense," it said. But something in its voice sounded hopeful. Oliver stood up slowly and walked forward. The dragon tensed but did not run. He sat down next to it, leaving a respectful gap between them. Can I see? Oliver asked. The dragon hesitated for a long moment. Then, with shaking claws, it placed the largest piece of crystal in Oliver's hand. That it was warm, heavier than it looked, etched with symbols he could not read. What's your name? Oliver asked. Rin. I'm Oliver. He turned the crystal piece carefully, examining how it had broken. My dad taught me about fixing things, Rin. If you want, maybe we could try together? Rin's breath caught. Together? Yeah. I don't know about Draketh memory crystals, but you do. And I know about patient repair work. Together we might figure it out. A single tear rolled down Rin's scaled cheek, but this time it looked different. Not shame, something else. Why would you help me? Oliver remembered sitting in his room, holding broken pieces, thinking nothing would ever be whole again. He remembered his father's big, warm hands helping him glue each piece back together. Because broken things deserve care, Oliver said simply. Want to start tomorrow? Rin nodded slowly, then nodded again, stronger. In the flickering yellow light of the forgotten corridor, two children sat side by side, looking at broken pieces and imagining them whole. Rin arrived first the next day, hiding in the shadows of the maintenance corridor like a secret. Oliver came tumbling through the access shaft 10 minutes later, backpack jingling with new tools borrowed from his father's workshop. I brought magnifiers, Oliver said, dumping everything onto a clean cloth he had laid out. And these really tiny tweezers. And this scanning light that shows cracks. Rin watched with wide eyes as Oliver organized the workspace. The dragon child had brought the broken memory keeper in a soft pouch, handling it like precious eggs. In Draketh school, they teach us to destroy broken weapons, Rin said quietly. Melt them down. Reform them into something new and stronger. But this isn't a weapon. Oliver arranged the crystal pieces by size, largest to smallest. It's a memory. You can't make memory stronger by destroying them. Rin's tail curled tight, a sign of emotional distress that Oliver was learning to read. My father says dwelling on the past makes warriors weak. My dad says remembering the past makes us who we are. Oliver picked up the largest fragment and held it under his scanning light. See these symbols? They're beautiful. They spell my mother's name. Shara. Rin's voice went soft on the name. She was a border guardian, died protecting a transport ship full of younglings. Oliver looked up from the crystal. She sounded brave. She was the bravest. Rin's scales flickered slightly brighter, just for a moment. She used to tell me that strength without kindness was just cruelty with muscles. Your mom sounds like she would have liked my dad. They worked in silence for a while. Oliver showed Rin how to use the magnifiers to examine each broken edge. The dragon's claws were actually better than human fingers for holding the tiny pieces steady. Together, they started mapping out which piece connected to which. How did your mother die? Rin asked suddenly, then flinched. Saw the Draketh do not ask such questions. Too personal. It's okay. Oliver lined up two fragments that looked like they fit together. Sickness. Her body just stopped working right. Dad said sometimes things break in ways we can't fix, no matter how hard we try. Did that make you angry? Oliver thought about it. Yeah, really angry. I broke stuff on purpose for a while. Threw things. Yelled. What did your father do? He let me. Then when I was done being angry, he sat with me and we started fixing what I broke. Oliver smiled at the memory. That's when he taught me about repair. Said anger was okay, but it couldn't be where the story ended. Rin's claws trembled on the crystal piece. I was not allowed to be angry. Father said rage dishonors the fallen. We must be stone, unbreakable. But you're not stone. You're alive. Draketh younglings who show too much emotion are sent to harsher training, to burn the weakness out. Rin's scales had gone dull again, that sad gray color. I have been holding everything inside for 2 cycles. Since Mother died, Oliver set down his tools. This felt more important than the crystal right now. My dad says feelings are like pressure in a pipe. If you hold them in too long, something breaks. Usually something important. He met Rin's eyes. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to miss her. Not in Draketh culture. We're not in Draketh culture right now. We're in a maintenance corridor on Harmony Station. Oliver gestured around at the pipes and cables. Just us. Nobody here to tell you what you're allowed to feel. Rin stared at him for a long moment. Then something broke in the dragon child's expression. Not broken like the crystal. Broken like a dam. Rin cried. Really cried. The kind of crying that came from deep inside, from months of holding everything down. Oliver did not say anything. He just moved closer and sat next to his friend, not touching but present. When the crying finally slowed, Rin's scales looked different. Less dull, like some of the pressure had been released. Amicia, Arian whispered. Every day I miss her. Me too. With my mom, I mean. Oliver picked up the crystal fragments again. That's why we're going to fix this. So you can hear her voice again. They worked for another hour. Oliver showed Rin the human technique of using reference points, matching patterns, testing fits before committing. Rin taught Oliver about crystal resonance, how DRAKeth memory keepers stored information in harmonic frequencies. If we can reconnect the main matrix, here and here, Rin pointed with a careful claw, the keeper might activate enough to play fragments. Like putting together a puzzle when you're missing some pieces. You can still see the picture. Yes, exactly like that. As the station's artificial evening cycle dimmed the lights, both children sat back and looked at their progress. 6 pieces now connected into one larger chunk. Maybe a quarter of the whole keeper. Same time tomorrow? Oliver asked. Yes. Rin carefully placed the connected pieces back in the soft pouch. Oliver, thank you. For what? For not telling me to be strong. For letting me be sad. Oliver thought about his father's words again. Different kinds of strength. Being sad about someone you love isn't weakness, Oliver said. It's proof you had something worth missing. Rin's scales brightened, a shimmer of blue-green that looked almost healthy. The dragon child stood, carefully tucking the pouch away. My father says humans are primitive and emotional, Rin said slowly. But maybe being emotional is not the same as being weak. Maybe your father is learning too, Oliver suggested. Just slower than us. Rin laughed. Actually laughed. The sound echoed through the maintenance corridor like music in the dimming light. 2 children who should have been enemies by culture were becoming friends through patience, tears, and broken things that deserve care. David Hayes noticed his son acting strange on the 4th day. Oliver kept checking the time, fidgeting during dinner, rushing through his homework. When the boy asked to go to bed early, David knew something was happening he followed. Not obviously. David was good at maintenance work because he paid attention to details. He stayed back, watched Oliver squeeze through the access shaft, and gave him a 5-minute head start before following the same route. Meanwhile, 3 levels up in the diplomatic quarters, High Counselor Vash watched his son eat dinner with actual appetite for the first time in months. Rin's scales had regained some of their shine. The child smiled at something, then quickly hid it. Vash had not seen his son smile since Shara died. He followed Rin that evening, silent as shadows, curious and concerned in equal measure. Both fathers arrived at the maintenance corridor within seconds of each other. David came from the north access shaft. Vash descended from a ventilation duct. They froze when they saw each other, hands moving instinctively toward weapons neither was carrying. Then they saw their children. Oliver and Rin sat cross-legged on the floor, bent over something between them. Tools scattered everywhere. The dragon child's tail swayed gently, relaxed. The human boy's face showed complete concentration. They were talking quietly, working together on some delicate task. Rin. Vash's voice came out harder than he intended. Both children jumped. The crystal pieces scattered across the floor. Father. Rin's scales went immediately dull, head lowering in submission. I can explain. Dad, wait. Oliver stood up, placing himself slightly in front of Rin. Not aggressive, just protective. David raised an eyebrow at that. His 8-year-old son defending a dragon child twice his size. What is happening here? Vash moved forward, his full height making the corridor feel small. Rin, you are ordered to stay in diplomatic quarters. Associating with other species without supervision is forbidden. We're friends, Oliver said simply. Humans and DRAKeth are not friends. Vash's wings flexed, a dominance display. We are barely allies. That's a grown-up problem. Oliver did not back down. David felt a surge of pride mixed with concern. Rin needed help. I'm helping. My son does not need help from primitives. The word came out like an insult. David finally spoke. Watch your mouth. That's my kid you're insulting. Vash turned his full attention to David. 2 fathers, different species, both ready to protect their children. The tension in the corridor could have been cut with a knife. Your spawn has been corrupting my son with weakness. Vash pointed at the scattered tools, teaching him to waste time on broken objects, encouraging emotional display. My son has been teaching yours about compassion. David kept his voice level, something your culture could use more of. How dare you? How dare you call my kid a corrupter for being kind? They might have escalated further, but Oliver spoke again. My father said broken things deserve care. The corridor went silent. Vash stared at the human child. What did you say? That's what Dad taught me. Oliver pointed at the crystal pieces. Rin's memory keeper broke. It has recordings of Rin's mom. We're fixing it together. That is a Dra Keth memory keeper. Vash's voice had changed, gotten quieter. Where did you get it? Rin finally spoke, voice small. It was Mother's. I have been carrying it since she died. I dropped it last week. It shattered. Vash's wings drooped slightly. You never told me you had it. You said to discard all reminders of weakness. I never said that about your mother's things. Vash sounded hurt. You said dwelling on the fallen dishonors them. That we must be stone. Rin's tail curled tight. I try to be stone, Father. I tried so hard. But I'm not stone. I'm just me, and I miss her. David watched the dragon counselor's expression crack. He recognized that look. He had seen it in his own mirror after his wife died. The look of someone trying to be strong when they were breaking inside. Shara would not want you to be stone, Vash said quietly. He moved closer, suddenly less intimidating and more like a grieving father. Your mother always said strength without kindness was just cruelty with muscles. I know. I remember. Rin's voice broke. Oliver has been helping me remember it is okay to remember her. That missing her does not make me weak. Vash knelt down, bringing himself to his son's level. His claws, so dangerous looking, gently touched Rin's face. You are not weak, little flame. You are strong enough to feel. That is harder than being stone. David cleared his throat. The kid's right, you know, about broken things deserving care. Vash looked at him. That is what you teach human younglings. It's what my wife taught me before she died. David moved to stand beside Oliver. She was always fixing stuff. Gardens, machines, relationships. She said the galaxy had enough people who threw broken things away. She wanted to be someone who mended them. Shara said something similar once. Vash carefully gathered the crystal pieces. She told me that true strength was protecting fragile things, not destroying them. Smart woman. The smartest. Vash held up the largest piece, the one with his wife's name. Can this truly be repaired? We've got about a quarter of it connected already, Oliver said. Rin's teaching me about crystal harmonics. I'm teaching Rin about patient assembly. Together we're figuring it out. Together. Vash tested the word like it was foreign. Humans and Dra Keth working together. Just two kids fixing something broken, David corrected. Species doesn't matter when you're trying to make something whole again. Vash looked at his son, really looked, and saw the brighter scales, the less hunched shoulders, the spark of hope in Rin's eyes. All things that had been missing for months. Perhaps, Vash said slowly, broken things do deserve care. Rin's scales flared bright with hope. Can we keep working on it? Oliver asked his father. David looked at Vash. Two fathers, meeting in the middle. Under supervision, Vash said, I wish to see this human repair philosophy in action. I'll bring coffee, David offered. And in that maintenance corridor, under flickering yellow lights, two species found common ground in the shared language of loss, love, and things worth fixing. Word spread through Harmony Station the way secrets always did among children. Whispered in corridors, passed in classrooms, shared during meals when adults were not listening close. There was a place in the lower maintenance levels where a human boy fixed broken things. And he did not care what species you were. The first to arrive after Rin was a Tilhari child named Pip. Tilhari were small, six-legged, covered in soft fur that changed colors with their moods. Pip's fur was currently deep purple, the color of sadness. Is this the fixing place? Pip's voice was barely a whisper. Oliver looked up from the memory keeper, now nearly half assembled. Yeah, what's broken? Pip pulled out a small device that looked like a music box. My sister made this before she went to the military academy. It plays our family song. It stopped working last month. Let me see. Oliver took the device carefully. Rin leaned in, curious. I can analyze the power system, Rin offered. Tilhari technology uses bioelectric currents, and I can check the mechanical parts. Oliver added. Pip's fur flickered from purple to orange, the color of surprise. You both will help? Even though I'm not human or Diriketh. Broken things deserve care, Oliver said. He was getting used to saying it. That's not species-specific. 2 days later, a Quillian youngster named Needle came by. Quillians looked like walking porcupines made of crystal spines. Needle carried a shattered family portrait, the kind that used light refraction to show images. Can you fix memories? Needle asked. Oliver and Rin exchanged glances. We can try, they said together. By the end of the week, 7 children from 5 different species were meeting in the maintenance corridor. Oliver's workspace had expanded to cover the entire floor. Tools everywhere, projects in various states of repair, children helping each other. Doctor Amara Osei found them by accident on the 8th day. She had been looking for a specific power conduit when she heard laughter echoing through the vents. Following the sound, she discovered the most unusual sight she had seen in 20 years of xenobiology, the human child teaching a Draketh child how to solder. A Tilhari showing a Quillian how to test circuits. A pair of Metherian twins carefully gluing together pieces of a Centauri prayer stone while a human explained the properties of different adhesives. What is this? Dr. Osei asked. Every child froze. Oliver stood up, ready to defend their space. We're fixing things, he said. Is that against station rules? Dr. Osei looked around at the organized chaos, at the careful work, at the way children from species that barely tolerated each other's adults were working together with complete ease. Not all, she said slowly. In fact, this might be the most important thing happening on this station. She left without another word. Oliver worried she would report them. Instead, she went straight to Commander Tanaka's office. From their observation post in the station command center, the adults watched the children work. The feeds from the maintenance corridor became required viewing for the diplomatic staff. Look at that, Commander Tanaka pointed at the screen. The Quillian child just handed tools to the Draketh without hesitation. Their governments have been in border disputes for 3 years. The children do not carry their parents' grudges, Dr. Osei observed. They only know what they have experienced directly. And what they have experienced here is cooperation. In the diplomatic quarters, Vash sat with David Hayes, both fathers watching their sons on a private monitor. Rin has not been this animated in months, Vash said. His massive claws held a cup of coffee that looked tiny in his grip. Perhaps years. Oliver's the same. David smiled at the screen. I was worried about him growing up on a station, away from Earth, away from other human kids. But look at him now, teaching other species human philosophy, teaching them about kindness. That's not just human. No, Vash agreed. But humans seem to make it a priority in ways other species do not. Draketh teach strength. Giyans teach honor. Tilhari teach innovation. But humans teach care. Shara taught care too. She did. Vash's voice went soft. She would have liked this, liked seeing younglings of different species working together. On the screen, Oliver helped Pip activate the repaired music box. A gentle melody filled the corridor. Pip's fur exploded into bright yellow, the color of joy, and the small creature hugged Oliver with all 6 legs. The next day, a Zinthari child appeared. The Zinthari and Kalani had been enemies for a century. Everyone knew this. But the Zinthari child, Swift, carried a broken translator that had belonged to his grandfather. I was told humans fix things here, Swift said carefully. Before Oliver could respond, a Kalani child stepped out from behind a pipe. Her name was Breeze, and she held a damaged photograph album. The 2 children stared at each other. 100 years of war in their species' history. Their governments would not negotiate. Their militaries fired on each other at the borders. There's room for both of you, Oliver said into the silence. If you want. Swift and Breeze looked at each other, then at the other children working peacefully together, then at the tools and broken things waiting to be made whole. I'll work on that side, Swift said, pointing to the left. I'll work on that side, Breeze said, pointing to the right. They never spoke to each other that day, but they were in the same room, breathing the same air, working on the same type of task. It was a start. Rin pulled Oliver aside during a break. Do you realize what you have created here? A repair workshop, a place where species barriers do not exist. where we are just children helping each other. Rin's scales shimmered with emotion. My father says the adults have been trying to achieve this kind of cooperation for decades. You did in a week. Oliver looked around at the workshop, at the children of different species working side by side, at the broken things slowly becoming whole. I just wanted to help you fix your mom's memory keeper, he said honestly. And in doing so, you showed everyone that broken things deserve care, not just objects. Rin gestured at the children. Broken trust, broken peace, broken relationships between species. All of it can be mended with patience and care. That evening, when the children left for their quarters, the memory keeper played its first full recording. Shara's voice filled the corridor, speaking in Diaraketh, telling a story to young Rin. Vash stood beside his son, tears streaming down his scaled face, finally letting himself grieve and remember. David Hayes stood beside them, one hand on his son's shoulder, understanding exactly what this moment meant. And Oliver smiled, because broken things were becoming whole again, one piece at a time. The alarm woke Oliver at 3 in the morning, station time. Red lights flashed in the corridors. His father burst into the room, already dressed. Stay in quarters, David said quickly. There's a situation. What kind of situation? The dangerous kind. Promise me you'll stay here. Oliver promised. Then, like any curious 8-year-old, he waited exactly 10 minutes before sneaking out. The main diplomatic hall was chaos. Adults shouting in 12 different languages. The Zenthari delegation on one side, the Kalani on the other, with Commander Tanaka standing between them looking exhausted. Oliver found a ventilation grate and listened. The colony world was ours first. A Zenthari ambassador slammed his fist on the table. You destroyed our settlement in violation of the treaty. Lies. The Kalani representative's skin flushed dark red with anger. You fired on our civilian transport. You broke the peace first. We have evidence of your betrayal. We have evidence of yours. Oliver had never seen adults so angry. Commander Tanaka kept trying to speak, but nobody listened. Security personnel lined the walls, hands on weapons, ready for violence. If we cannot resolve this, both delegations must leave the station, Commander Tanaka said firmly. We cannot risk combat breaking out in neutral space. Then we leave, the Zenthari ambassador said. And when we leave, we resume the war. A war that will consume both our species, the Kalani added. But we will not bear the dishonor of backing down from treaty breakers. Oliver's stomach went cold. Va, real war. He thought about Swift and Breeze, the two children who had started working together in the repair workshop. If war started, they would become enemies again. He crawled through the vents until he found Rin's quarters. The dragon child was awake, scales dim with worry. Did you hear? Rin asked. Yeah, they're going to fight. Father tried to mediate. They would not listen to him. Rin's tail lashed with frustration. Nobody will listen. They are too angry. Oliver thought about the repair workshop, about broken things and patience and care. Maybe they need a different kind of voice, he said slowly to be wide dawn. Oliver had gathered all the children from the workshop. Pip, Needle, Swift, Breeze, the Matharian twins, and a dozen others who had joined over the past weeks. They met in the maintenance corridor one last time. I need everyone's help with something big, Oliver said. Bigger than fixing music boxes or memory keepers. What kind of big? Pip asked, for shifting to curious green. Fixing peace. The children listened as Oliver explained his plan. Some looked scared. Some looked excited. All of them agreed to try. Commander Tanaka was giving the delegations one final hour to negotiate when the doors to the diplomatic hall opened. Children walked in. Children from every species on the station, carrying the things they had repaired together. What is this? The Zenthari ambassador looked annoyed. We are conducting serious negotiations. We know, Oliver said. His voice shook, but he kept talking. That's why we're here. Security moved to escort them out, but Commander Tanaka held up a hand. Let them speak. Oliver stepped forward. Rin stood beside him. Both children faced the assembled adults. You say the treaty is broken, Oliver began. You say it can't be fixed. You say the only answer is war. Child, you do not understand the complexity of the situation, the Kalani representative said. Not unkindly. Maybe not, but I understand broken things. Oliver gestured to the other children. We all do. Swift stepped forward, holding his grandfather's translator. This was broken. 3 different species helped me fix it. Breeze moved to stand beside Swift. Not touching, but together. This was my grandmother's photograph album. Swift helped me repair the binding. The adults stared. A Zinthri child and a Kalani child, standing side by side. We didn't know we were supposed to be enemies, Breeze continued. We just knew we both had broken things that deserved care. Needle held up the family portrait. The human and the Draketh fixed this for me. Species that barely speak to each other at the government level. But down in the workshop, we're just children helping each other. My father said broken things deserve care, not anger, Oliver said. His voice was stronger now. Not throwing away. Care. He taught me that broken things can be made whole again if you have patience and if you work together. You speak of objects, the Zinthri ambassador said. We speak of trust, of honor, of lives lost. I speak of those things too. Oliver met the ambassador's eyes. The treaty is broken. Everyone agrees on that. But you're treating it like garbage. You're throwing it away and choosing war. What if you treated it like we treat broken things in the workshop? How will we do that? Commander Tanaka asked quietly. First, you stop being angry long enough to look at all the pieces. Figure out what actually broke and why. Oliver had helped fix enough things to know the process. Then you look for connection points. Things both sides agree on. Then you start rebuilding piece by piece, testing as you go. And if the pieces don't fit, the Kalani representative sounded genuinely curious now. Then you find new ways to connect them. Or you reshape the pieces carefully. Or you accept that the fixed thing might look different than the original but still work. Rin spoke up. In Draketh culture, we are taught to destroy broken things and forge them into something new. But Oliver taught me that sometimes the broken thing has value exactly because of its history. His mother's picture frame means more to him because he repaired it with his father. The breaks are part of the story now. Your broken treaty has history, Oliver said. Both your species worked hard to create it. That work has value. The breaks you're arguing about, they're part of the story now. But they don't have to be the end of the story. The diplomatic hall had gone completely silent. Pip stepped forward, fur bright blue with earnestness. We're just children. We don't understand war or politics or complicated negotiations. But we understand that working together is better than fighting. We understand that patience fixes things anger cannot. We understand that sometimes the broken thing teaches you something important while you're fixing it. Commander Tanaka looked at the assembled children, then at the adults. From the mouths of younglings. Perhaps we have been approaching this wrong. The Zinthri ambassador and the Kalani representative looked at each other across the room. 100 years of war in that look. But also perhaps 100 years of exhaustion. What do you propose? The Zinthri asked slowly. Oliver smiled. First, everyone sits down. You can't fix anything if you're standing up ready to fight. And for the first time in 3 days, both delegations sat. 3 weeks later, Oliver sat in the maintenance corridor with Rin, working on a new project. The memory keeper was finished now, playing all of Cher's recordings perfectly. It sat on a shelf nearby, a reminder of where everything had started. The Zinthri and Kalani signed the new treaty this morning, Rin said, carefully soldering a connection. Father said it took 18 days of negotiations, but they did it. Swift and Breeze are actually friends now, Oliver added. Real friends. I saw them eating lunch together yesterday. The repair workshop had changed. It was official now, with proper lighting and safety equipment. Dr. Osei stopped by twice a week to teach the children about different species technologies. David Hayes ran weekend sessions on repair techniques. Even Vash had contributed, teaching about Draketh crystal work. But more than the workshop had changed, footsteps echoed down the corridor. Commander Tanaka approached with 2 other adults. Oliver recognized them from news feeds, important people from the Galactic Council. Oliver Hayes, Rin's son of Vash, Commander Tanaka, said formally. May we speak with you? The children exchanged worried looks. Were they in trouble? The Galactic Council has been watching the events on Harmony Station with great interest, one of the counselors said. She was Polarian, her translucent skin showing the bioluminescent organs beneath. Specifically, watching what you children have accomplished. We just fixed some broken stuff? Oliver said nervously. You fixed much more than that. The counselor gestured to a datapad. The Zinthari-Kalani Treaty negotiations used principles derived from your repair methodology. Patience over anger, finding connection points, accepting that the fixed version might look different but still function. These concepts are now being called the Hayes Protocols. Oliver blinked. The what? Named after you. Commander Tanaka explained with a smile. Your father's teaching has resonated across multiple species. The idea that broken things deserve care rather than disposal or destruction. Rin's scales brightened with pride. Oliver's father is very wise. Indeed, the second counselor, a towering Kresh with 4 arms, leaned forward. Which brings us to our proposal. The Galactic Council wishes to establish a new role for humanity in the greater community. A role. Oliver was confused. Humanity is young to the stars. Your technology is not the most advanced. Your military is not the strongest. Your economy is not the largest. The Kresh counselor counted off on his fingers. But your species has something unique. An approach to problem solving that prioritizes emotional intelligence, empathy, and repair over destruction. We want to formally designate humans as galactic menders, the Polarians said. Species that specialize in fixing broken relationships, mediating conflicts, and healing divisions between other species. Oliver's mouth fell open. Is that why you are here? Rin asked. To recruit humans for diplomacy? Partially, but also to recruit you specifically. Commander Tanaka pulled up another document. Oliver, how would you feel about your repair workshop becoming an official Galactic Council program? A place where children from all species learn not just repair techniques, but cooperation and understanding. I'm 8 years old, Oliver pointed out. Old enough to start something important. The Polarian counselor smiled. We would provide resources, expand the program, train additional facilitators. But you would remain the heart of it. The teacher of the foundational principle. Broken things deserve care, Rin said softly. Exactly. Oliver thought about it. About Pip's music box playing family songs. About Needle's restored portrait. About Swift and Breeze working side by side, despite a century of war. About his father's wisdom becoming something bigger than either of them had imagined. What about school? He asked. And my dad's job? Your father has been offered a position training other humans in emotional intelligence and conflict resolution techniques, Commander Tanaka said. He would work with the Galactic Diplomatic Corps, teaching the Hayes Protocols to negotiators from multiple species. The position is based here on Harmony Station, so you would not have to leave. And your education would continue, the Kresh added, but supplemented with practical experience in cross-species cooperation. What better classroom than the one you've already created? Oliver looked at Rin, his first student, his best friend, the dragon child who had taught him that different species could understand each other if they just tried. Can Rin be part of it? Oliver asked. Like officially, Rin has already been requested by the DRA Keth government to serve as a cultural liaison, the Polarians said. High Counselor Vash believes his son has learned valuable lessons about strength through compassion. Lessons the DRA Keth wish to incorporate into their diplomatic training. Rin's scales flushed bright with surprise. Father said that. He did. He also said his late wife would be proud of the person you are becoming. For a moment, Rin could not speak. Oliver reached over and squeezed his friend's claw. We'll do it together, Oliver said. Like we do everything. The counselor smiled. That evening, Oliver and his father stood at the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Ships from a dozen species docked at Harmony Station. Representatives coming and going, conflicts being resolved with patience instead of weapons. Mom would have liked this, Oliver said quietly. She would have loved it. David put his arm around his son's shoulders. She always said the universe needed more people willing to fix things instead of break them. Do you think we're really going to change things? Like the whole galaxy? I think you already have, kiddo. One broken toy at a time. In his quarters, Rin listened to his mother's voice from the memory keeper. Shara told a story about a young warrior who learned that protecting the weak was the truest form of strength. It was Rin's favorite recording. Vash sat beside his son, no longer ashamed to show his own grief and love. Tomorrow you begin your new role, Vash said. Cultural liaison, teacher of younglings, bridge between species. I'm nervous, Rin admitted. So am I. This is new for both of us. Vash's massive claw gently touched his son's head. But Oliver taught us both an important lesson. Broken things deserve care. That includes broken traditions, broken assumptions, and broken ways of thinking. Do you think we can really change DRA Cath culture? I think you already have. One conversation at a time. The memory keeper played Shara's laughter, a sound that filled the room with warmth that I in the maintenance corridor. Now officially designated as the Harmony Workshop, children's artwork decorated the walls. Drawings of different species working together. Photographs of repaired objects, and prominently displayed above the entrance. Carved into a metal plate by a dozen different species working together. Broken things deserve below it in smaller letters. Founded by Oliver Hayes and R.Y.N., son of Vash dedicated T.O. Shara, who believed strength without kindness was just cruelty, with the lights in the workshop never fully went dark anymore. Always ready for the next broken thing, the next child seeking help, the next species learning that cooperation was stronger than conflict. And out among the stars, humanity found its place not as conquerors or explorers, but as menders, as the species that looked at broken things and saw not garbage, but potential, not endings, but new beginnings. All because a father taught his son about care, and a son taught the galaxy what that truly meant.